Hi, welcome to Gene Rants. I'm Gene, and it looks like this is going to be one of those days when I'm going to have to admit that I was wrong about something. Well, actually, not admit out loud because I never made this prediction or expressed this opinion, but it's something that I thought, that I believed, and well, it has to do with Pennsylvania and John Fetterman and just an opinion I had about his reelection chances next time he runs for Senate. If he does, I mean, remember, he did have a stroke, so it's possible that he would not run for a second term as senator, but we'll have to see. I thought, though, if he did, that he would be his chances would be very good. One of the reasons is because, well, the main reason is because he's showing himself to be a common sense moderate. He's not one of these far left Democrats. In fact, he is the only Democrat, about the shutdown and these repeated votes that the Senate is holding to reopen the government. He is the only Democrat to vote to reopen the government. And he said, well, I voted when, in the past, no matter which side was in power, I always voted that it's just dumb to keep the government closed, or to shut down the government, and that he wasn't going to do it. And oh, by the way, just as a little aside here, because I can almost see the comments coming. Yes, I know there was another, you could say, Democratic Senator Angus Young, who also voted against voted to keep the government open, but he caucuses with the Democrats, but he's actually an independent. So I was a little off. I didn't want to say two Democrats because that would not be. I try to be accurate. So two on the left, one independent and one Democrat, voted to reopen the government now that it's been shut down, and the only Democrat, John Fetterman. So I said, well, he's a moderate, he's common sense, so he's going to be hard to beat in the when he runs for re-election in Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania, obviously, Trump carried Pennsylvania twice, once in 2016, and then he lost in 2020, and then 2024 he won it again. And so you have Pennsylvania tending right, but not far right. So kind of like a slightly, maybe we'll say, purple. So I was pretty sure that Fetterman would, because he's not one of these extreme left wingers, and he's doing, as far as I can tell, a pretty good job. Whenever I see him being interviewed, he's always cogent and common sense. You wouldn't know that he had a stroke the way you may not know this about him, but he carries his brain. He still has a little trouble processing speech. So he carries a cell phone that if you ask him something or talk to him, it translates what was being said into text. Maybe that's changed by now, but my understanding is that he still does that. So it's possible he won't, if he sees himself not doing well in the next, I'm not sure when he's up again, but the next Senate election in Pennsylvania, where he's up for re-election, then I could see him retiring. I could also now see him being primary and not being the nominee, in which case the Republican candidate would have a very good chance of winning. There is the other senator from Pennsylvania right now, Dave McCormick. He is a Republican. So why have I changed my opinion that before I thought he would be a shoo-in? Well, not necessarily a shoo-in, but very good chances of being reelected, that the independents would vote for him because he's so common sense. But let me put up, this is I forget who tweeted this, but it's the result of a poll. Let me just put it up. Breaking. It's been revealed that among Pennsylvania Republicans, Senator John Fetterman, Democrat, has a 41-point approval rating, 62% to 21%. Okay, among Democrats, this is the important part. Among Democrats, Fetterman is at negative 21 points, 33% to 54% per Quinnipiac. So this is a Quinnipiac poll, which is it's a decent poll. So you see why I'm surprised. And actually, now that I take a look at this, he's got most Republicans, which surprises me, but most Republicans apparently in Pennsylvania like John Fetterman, but I don't know if I question whether they like him enough to vote for him against a Republican candidate. One of the reasons for it is this. I don't know why Republicans don't run on this. To me, this is so obvious. If you have a moderate senator and say there's a loony left wing of the Democratic Party, and this candidate, Joe Blow, he may be a moderate, but you have to understand that if you elect him, if the Democrats have a majority in the Senate or in the House, they will elect respectively a Democrat majority leader in the Senate and a Democrat Speaker of the House. So that's what you're really voting for. You're voting to put the Democrats in charge, no matter how moderate your particular senator or a representative candidate may be. At the end of the day, most of the Democrat Party is captive to the hard left, and whoever is elected, the Democrats elect for Speaker of the House or Majority Leader, that person will be, just like we're seeing all this, all these hoops that Chuck Schumer is going through right now with the government shutdown, voting against continue a clean, there's nothing partisan in it. It just keeps everything going the way it was, as far as just spending as it was, no poison pills, no introductions of new legislation or regulations or anything by the Republicans. And this is the same bill that Chuck Schumer voted for 13 times up to and including just last March, a few months ago. Now he's changed his spots. Why? We all know why. Because he is captive to the left wing of his party, and especially he's especially afraid of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who could possibly or very possibly run. Well, there's these thoughts that she really wants to be president, and God help us if she were ever elected president, and God help the Democratic Party if she's ever the nominee. We'll see what happens. But you could become senator, and then run. That's what Obama did, run, and John F. Kennedy, for that matter, elected to the Senate first and then ran for president and was elected. So, but as it is right now, Schumer is deathly afraid of being primaried by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, because the poll I saw showed, I think it was 68 to 30 something like that. She had at that time, when I saw this poll a few months ago, very, very wide lead. If she primaries Chuck Schumer, and because you have to remember, this is something I just saw this morning, actually, some talking heads talking about it, that you have on both sides, the Democrat and the Republican Party. I mean, on the Republican, it's not a congressman or a senator, but it's Charlie Kirk, but he's young. And you're seeing, especially though, on the left side, this hankering with replacing all the older people with younger people who are more far left. So the chances are, and that's actually how Ocasio-Cortez got elected. She ran against Joe Crowley, who was, like John Fetterman, a middle of the road, very sensible Democrat, would work with Republicans on some things, as I understand it. But he had a reputation as a moderate. But he was old. He was old, and she ran. Well, that's a problem, as I can tell you, when you get old, you don't have the energy that you had, except for Donald Trump, who seems to have limitless energy to go all over the country. I mean, when he was campaigning, he was everywhere. And I don't know how many rallies he would do in a day, but he's an exception. But most people, you start to slow down as you get older, and it's hard to compete with a younger person who go knock on doors and has all this energy to and plus being knowledgeable about social media and so on and so forth. So the odds, you could say the odds are, I would put it at 80%. I'm hesitant to put a percentage because I was so wrong about Fetterman. Who knows? I may be proven right that he'll get reelected, but I would put the odds at 80%, if not higher, that if Ocasio-Cortez primaries Schumer, that she will win. And he's deathly afraid of that. And he's got to show them that, because they're saying, fight, fight. They want him. They don't care about the country. They want to see Democrats, or that the Democrats are out of power. They don't have the House. They don't have the Senate. They don't have the White House. There's really nothing they can do. They're going to lose this shutdown fight. And in fact, I believe there are going to be announcements fairly soon of permanent layoffs of federal officials. People that the Democrats want bigger government, it's going to become smaller, permanently smaller, every day that the government stays shut down. So it's just it's just a stupid move, but they have to do it because the Democrats, the far left of their party, the socialists, the Democratic Socialists, and the Democrat Party is just a smokescreen. They're socialists. They don't want to call themselves socialists because then they would not be part of the Democratic Party anymore, and they're part of the Socialist Workers of America. So they put Democrat in there, but they don't care. They just want to see fight. Just see that the Democrats are fighting. In fact, I saw, I could only watch a couple seconds of it, but there was, because it was, you watch a few seconds and you know what the whole thing is going to be. But there's this odd website called, or a Substack called the Bulwark. And they were formed in 2016 and started as a website. They probably still have a website, and they they were never Trump or Republicans, which I was, by the way, in 2016, but I'm not an idiot. I could see now, if I had to do it all over in 2016, I would have voted for Trump. And a lot of, as you know, if you watch these vlogs, a lot I don't like about him, a lot of problems I have with him, but especially in foreign affairs and tariffs. Oh, and by the way, throw this little tidbit in. I just read that he has only I don't know what poll it was, and it was in passing, so I could have gotten this wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it said that he had a 63% disapproval on his handling of the economy, and I can understand why. Even though the stock market is up today, and we had 3.8% economic growth in the last quarter, but I don't want to get off on, as I so often do. Try not to get off on a track. I'm going to try not to get off on another track. We'll talk about that another time. Maybe when I get actual poll results, we can do an in-depth analysis. But even though there's so much I don't like about him, overall, the Democrats are so far left, so radical that you can't vote for them. I am an independent. I'm not a Republican. Those of you may think I am a Democrat, and I could see somebody like a Fetterman. It would depend who the Republican is, but I don't really see myself voting for a Democrat. But if I ever did, because I voted for Democrats in the past, I voted for Jimmy Carter, believe it or not. That was the last Democrat president I voted for. And anyways, as usual, getting off on another track. Fetterman, it's a probably he has a better rating among Republicans than among Democrats. So I could see him not even being the nominee and being primaried, because being primaried, even though he would have anybody I can think of who they conceivably could nominate to run, the Democrats run instead of him, such as a Josh Shapiro. I don't think he would get nominated. So anybody that they conceivably, the far left, could nominate would have a smaller chance of winning than John Fetterman. And it's the advice actually that William F. Buckley gave. He said, vote, should I hold out for a conservative and just sit home? He said, no, just vote for the most conservative candidate. Just be realistic. If you live in Maine, you're not going to get a solidly way to the right Republican senatorial candidate or a senator if they were to elect a real conservative. I could be wrong again, but the way I see it right now, you have to vote for Susan Collins as long as she's very moderate. You have to vote for her as long as she's going to run. Alaska, Lisa Murkowski, different story. You could, she has the thing, I don't want to get off on another track, but the things that she has done to keep herself in office, they're really legal, all legal, but really disgusting to me. And in a open election, well, I'll give you one tidbit. She lost a primary in one of her elections, and so she ran as a write-in candidate, and she appeals to Democrats to help write her in and get it over. That's what she does. She's supposed to be a Republican, but she ignores the conservative wing of the Republican Party, and she works to attract Democrats just enough for her to keep getting reelected. So if somebody primaried her and won, that person would win in Alaska, I'm sure, but not Maine. Totally different animal. So that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Your comments welcome in the comments section below the video. And well, I just said if you could subscribe, it would really be great. Might as well say it again. If you could subscribe, it would really be great. And share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I'd love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.